Blessings, Hatep and Ma'at. I am Asnefrika, also known as Nef. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. This is Tehuti Ma'at. We are a cooperative revolutionary instrument focused on the resurrection of people of African ascent. We create cooperative institutions, and one of those cooperative institutions that we've created is Coins and Karis. Coins and Karis is our spiritual marketplace for spiritual goods and services for the people who are part of our galaxy. So I just want to introduce myself. I am the Oracle who is going to present this reading for today. This is actually the annual reading. So, as of the spring officially, which is when I pulled this reading it was literally on the spring equinox at the ocean. So typically I pull my readings for the most part in fire ritual. A few of my readings I have done at the beach. This is one of them. So it is definitely infused with all of the energies. So I wanted to first start off with that. I'm going to just clear the energy. I don't know if you can actually hear the frequency of this tone, but all right. So without further ado, I am going to dive in and share the reading. If you want to know more information about Coins and Karis, if you want to book a personal reading, you can go to coinsandkaris.com. All the links are in the description. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on our reading today. So the theme that I put forward for this reading is that sexual energy is your power. That is actually the theme of this whole year that we just started in the spring all the way until next spring. Now, you can be watching this at any time. You could probably, I recommend that you return back to it as we move through the seasons and you really get a sense of like where the energy is for this year. So it's really interesting because it is a lot, there's a lot of emphasis on sexual energy. So I'm going to speak on that. There's going to be potent collective sexual healing and activation. Now, that means there's going to be a hyper stimulation around sexual energy, which also means that there's the danger of the misuse of sexual energy as well. So remember, these are energy readings. They're not, I'm not predicting the future. This is literally just picking up on the energy. One of the things that we really need to heal is our relationship to the art of divination. Divination opens us up to the infinite potentials of existence. The people that I am picking up on and the people who will align with this reading are the people who have a message here for them and who are in alignment with this energy. More than likely, you are a star in our constellation. So it's not everybody who has the privy of really recognizing that we're going to be moving into this energy. So because you are one of them, I really want you to take into consideration whatever comes up for you intuitively throughout this reading. The most important thing is to remember whatever comes up for you personally. So if there's any thoughts, circumstances, situations, sensations, take note of that. If you're coming back, watch the raw play, right? And pause, take notes, process. This is the energy for the entire year. This is the most informative expression that you are going to get from me for the energy of this year. So I want to go ahead and just share what the reading looks like for a moment. So just let me go ahead and do that first and foremost. So this is my pyramid reading. My pyramid reading is a reading that is 10 cards in the spread. All right. And we are going to start with the top card, right? I'll show each card as I go through, but right now I just want to show the overall reading, right? Which is the fire principle. This is the guiding principle of the entire reading. This is what's going to inform every other card and how it's interpreted, and that is Kepra, so we're going to go into that. Then we move into the air energy. The air energy is how the energy is going to express itself mentally. So this is the mind. Then we go into the water energy. The water energy is expressing how the energy is going to show up emotionally. And then finally, we have the earth energy, which is going to show us how this energy is going to show up for us in the physical material reality, right? And usually that's what people really want to know. How am I going to see, feel, touch, taste, and experience this energy? So that being said, I am going to start going through each card. And the first card that we are going to begin with is the first card of the spread, which is Kepera. All right. Kepera is the number 4 card, as you can see here. It is 4 is a number of stability. It represents the 4 cornerstones, right, that provide stability, right? You could think about a table, a chair, right? The stability of 4, right? It's in the house of Pet, which is the family of the heavens. So every energy, this is not based on your typical tarot. This is based on ancient African sacred science or Kemetic science. So this symbol here represents a force or principle of nature. And this particular principle is the principle of transformation. I like to also think of Kepra as the principle of healing. It's how I was oriented and initiated. This symbol is the symbol that actually called me into my awakening, interestingly. So I have a deep connection to this energy of Kepra. Kepra is represented by the dung beetle. The dung beetle has a beautiful 28-day cycle or lunar cycle that it flows with. So it will lay its eggs in a animal waste. More than likely it will be cow dung, right? So it's going to lay its eggs in feces, right? Waste. And then it's going to roll that feces into a perfect sphere following the celestial cues. So literally it's being informed and guided on its direction and its path by the sun. And after 28 days, which is the same as the female menstrual cycle, the lunar cycle, these eggs then hatch and there emerges new life. So it's a beautiful symbol of transformation. And what do we need for transformation? The waste, right? The fertility of what it is that we are letting go of, especially right now in the beginning of the cycle. If you're watching this in real time, it's all about letting go. There's a lot of waste that we need to hold as fertilizer for what we are or who we are becoming. Kepera is about becoming, right? Kepera has the solar disk at head, and then it has the wings of a falcon, which is so interesting because I've been seeing falcons every day for a few days now. And I don't typically see falcons all the time. It's usually like a big highlight when I see falcons. And now I've been seeing falcons so often that I'm like, whew, what's going on? So the falcon is the highest flying bird. It is the principle, or we used it to symbolize the principle of victory, the principle of precision and the focus of the part of us, our higher self. So that the wings of the falcon represents the falcon's ability to soar above the other birds, its precision in hunting, right? And its ability to look directly into the sun. So coming back to that solar element, remember the sun is our creative force. So this year is about potent transformation across the board. That's what the entire theme of the reading is. There's going to be a lot of transformation. So this is not the time to be attached to things, right? As you sense yourself, as things are shedding and letting go, as they are becoming the waste or the fertilizer for who you are becoming, welcome that, surrender that, because everything is about to change. That's what this year, by the time we come around to next year, the energy is going to be completely different. So hopefully you come back to this and you can recognize that truth. All right, so that's the guiding principle of the entire reading. All right, so this is speaking to specifically the sun is about to rise, right? It's a transformation of a situation. It could be transformation, inner transformation. It is the renewal of energy. All right. So then we move into the air element. Remember I said the air element is all about the mind. So now these energies are first going to come into the mental realm where we're going to experience them through our thoughts and our ideas. So the first card is really representing the thoughts and ideas that are still from the cycle that we're leaving behind, right? The last year. And they're still having an influence on where we are now. So remember, if you're watching the replay or the raw play, as I like to say, make sure you pause. whatever comes up for you intuitively. The number on this card is 7. 7 represents how divinity manifests in this realm, right? Think about the 7 harmonic tones. That's how we hear the divine expression in this realm. Think about the 7 main colors in the light spectrum. That's how we see or perceive light and divinity in this realm. So just take those things into consideration. We have 7 directions, right? That's how we orient ourselves into this realm. So we have the 4 cardinal directions. Remember that number 4 was significant. 4 is stabilizing. And then you have above, below, and within, 7 directions. All right. So it's in the house of Akut, which is the family of fire. And this card is Asterith. And this card really represents overcoming opposition. Asterith was known as the mistress of the horses, right? Because this energy, you could see this horse is actually over the chariot that is drawing her. She has the mask of a lioness. So she's obviously in her warring chariot and she's overcoming her enemy. This is about conquering one's enemy. Now, that could be energetically, that could be relationally, it could be an actual person. Regardless, it represents there's an aspect of us that has overcome something that is still influencing our minds and our thoughts. This is also representing sensual pleasure that's exalted in a way that it becomes spiritual joy, right? It's also representing travel, right? Traveling for your advantage, right? The procession of the chariot, right? You could think if you're someone who does the typical tarot, then you might see the chariot card symbolize someone in this. So it represents all of that, right? Energetically. It could have been whatever movements that you've made that have advanced you in your life, the things that you have overcome that have allowed you to birth spiritual joy, and allowing that to still have an influence in the mind, because energetically it's still present. So you really want to hold and integrate that mentally, right? And that's what the Tehuti or the Mercury retrogrades were supporting us in doing. And we'll continue to go through those retrogrades so that our minds can continue to integrate the things that we're moving through. Now, the second card in the reading at the air dimension is Amsu, which is also known as Min, right? So Amsu, which you can clearly see the most prominent aspect. Remember, pause if you need to pause. But remember, the most prominent aspect of this energy is that erection, because this is representing the masculine energy. This is in the house of Ah, which is the family of the moon. So there's still a lunar element, which means there's an emotional element. The card number is 3. 3 is the number of the Trinity, the number of creation, right? When the 2 come together, they create the 3, birth, life, creative energy. That's the essence of this number. So Amsu is representing regeneration, right? And the erection, right? The masculine active energy that mentally is here to stimulate us. Our minds are now moving at an accelerated rate, but through this principle and this energy of regeneration, the ability for us to regenerate our minds, right? Regenerate our thoughts. What do I mean by regeneration? Think about nature, right? That's why I have on my farmer's hat today. Now, one of the first things I learned as I started farming and connecting with nature is that you immediately get the sense of like nothing is waste, right? So coming back to that card that I mentioned in the beginning, the first card, which is Kepra, nothing is waste because you can use it. All right. What do I mean? Even things that look dead in nature, in a farming context particularly, can regenerate. They can restore themselves. And that's what this principle represents. All right. So it's a principle that's speaking about procreation specifically because you're dealing with the erection. So the principle is the principle that actually erects, right, and ejaculates. So what does it do? It spreads. So there's something mentally here present to stimulate us in a regenerative way that's also procreative, right? The symbol of Amsu is specifically the principle of this I'll just share the mythology loosely with you. So Min, or Amsu, was known to be a protector, right? A divinity of protection. So as the mythology goes, to understand this principle and understand this force of nature, is that there was this divinity, this aspect of creation was put into place to protect the wives of the warriors that went off to war. Now, when the warriors came back from war, they were pissed because Amsu, or Min, had impregnated all their wives, and that's not what he was supposed to be doing. So they cut off his legs and his arms and maim him essentially, and he is casted out. What ends up happening is, years later, a conquering army takes over the land and begins to invade essentially. And the children of Amsu and the wives of the warriors, who were actually demigods, he had birthed demigods who were able to fight back and reclaim their land. So it speaks to what? Remember, this is symbolic, right? Always think the mythology is just to illustrate something symbolically and energetically. What is it describing? And remember, this is coming back to the mind. This is the mental element. It's speaking to the fact that the energy itself seems to just be, exerting itself without a purpose, but eventually it becomes clear the purpose and the power of what actually took place. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, because remember, this is all sacred science. So whatever you're able to retrieve and whatever you need, you claim that from within your own intuitive interpretation. All right. So remember to exercise that. Amsu. So that's what's happening in the mind. So let me put it in my own words. Asterisk is speaking to, we've overcome something. Mentally, we're stronger. We're riding on that wave of victory and that spiritual joy that we can claim and allow to stimulate our minds and move us towards this hyper creative stimulation, this regeneration of our minds and our thoughts, as we're becoming what we're transforming into, or as we're just becoming, right? Becoming who we are, because in eternity, it is all happening right now. But we're actually going to begin to see the material transformation and shift. All right, so now we're moving into the water energy. So remember, I said the water energy is representing our emotional body. All right. So this is about the Ka, which is the spirit, the emotional body. The number 7, again, remember what I said about the number 7, divinity expressed. Shashat is the card. She's in the family of Pet, again, the family of heaven, which is where Kepra came in as well, in the same house. But this was the number 4, so this is the number 7 in that suite. Shashat, where's the 7-pointed star? Sometimes that's been associated with many different things. I'm not going to get into the depth of that right now, but I will share this. Shashat is the daughter of Tehuti and Ma'at. Okay, so you're talking about the principle of nature that's birthed from the cosmic expression of universal law and order and truth, wisdom, and all those things gives birth to a receptive, right? Because it's feminine, a receptive energy of the builder, the architect, right? But being able to build and construct and design through receiving, through intuition, right? She is the builder, she's the architect, she's the astrologer, right? The mathematics of the intelligence of creation, of art, of literature. That's what this principle represents, that's impacting us emotionally. As we begin this cycle, it is an influence of that energy and tapping into that energy. I've been associating the AI with Shashat. I've heard so many different interpretations of what the A and the I represent: ancestral intelligence or aligned intention, all these different things. But nonetheless, that technology itself is an aspect of it is an expression of an aspect of Shashat, of this principle, because the way it aggregates all this information and knowledge and then disseminates it, right? So That being said, the card itself represents that emotionally speaking, we're speaking around emotional divine design and representing the divinity of our emotions, what we're building and creating emotionally, right? So constructing even new emotions, or even the emotions surrounding the construction of our plans, right? That we're building for future success and linking our energy to a larger plan, right? Shashat is also the writer specifically, but linking our energy to a larger plan. That tends to create a lot of emotional energy, because when we're connecting ourselves to something beyond us that's larger than us, the ego has to be stimulated, because the part of us that sees ourselves as a self is connecting itself to something larger. So it depends on how your expression of ego and your relationship to your ego, which we all need our ego as a way to identify ourselves in this world, as a way to see our unique essence as we operate as the ocean in a drop. We need each drop and its unique essence. So I highly recommend just evaluating, like, where are you in your perception of yourself in relation to the larger vision and the larger plan, because we're all here, we're all connected, and everything is one. So as we start aligning with this energy this year, it's just important to recognize that there's energy here that's in support of that type of building and constructing, right? Then we go into the center, which is another 7 card, which is very interesting, right? Think about even in like mainstream culture, like the number 7 is seen as a lucky number. If you think about it biblically, the number 7 is a divine number as well, associated with the creator. So the number is 7, the house of Ta, the family of the earth, and Satet. All right, so this energy is the center of the reading. So this principle is what's connecting our earthly and our spiritual lives. Satet is about cosmic abundance. All right, make sure you pause if you're watching the raw play and tune in to whatever comes up for you intuitively. But you see she has the bow in her hand, and she's directing the energy in the other hand from the cosmos, right? From Septet or Sirius, right? The dog star or Canis Major, channeling it into the water. So it's water, there's palm trees, so it's abundance, it's an oasis. She's channeling that energy down from the cosmos. She's also specifically representing the fertile land, right? Sometimes you'll see the energy representing, or the image on the card might have the red crown, or sometimes it'll be the white crown with the red crown. This one's just the white crown. So each one represents one of the regions. So there's Upper Kemet and Lower Kemet, one representing the desert land and the other representing the fertile land. All right, so with this energy is connecting both our earthly and our spiritual lives. This is the energy of the south, right? And the waters that purify, the waters that nurture or nourish the spirit. So this is beautiful that it's in the water element in that level, because it's dealing with our emotions, and it's an emotionally abundant energy. It's about the initiation of new projects. It's about the right time for action. It's about sending our energy outward. So it's important to have our emotions stabilized so that we can do that, right? That's what this energy represents. Now, it is the energy of the South. She is carrying the Ankh. There's just an essence of abundance that's present. So our emotions, remember, our emotions are the key. Our emotions are cues. Our emotions guide us. We're tapping into so much more receptive energy, so much more intuitive energy, which is innately associated with the female. But really, it's about our receptivity, because whether you're a male or a female, we have this ability to receive, this ability to be intuitive and connected with what's beyond us, cosmic, right? not just what's happening here in the physical. But the beautiful thing about this card is it also represents bringing and channeling that energy down. So taking those plans, those new ideas, and making them a reality with the emotional passion, right? Remember, emotions have a whole range. Joy is an emotion. You could be ecstatic in emotion. You can also be passionate. You need emotion for passion, and that's what drives the new project forward. So the energy is present for that. And the next card in the emotional realm is Akeru. The number is 6. Now, 6 is a number that's typically associated with the divine. It's more like perfection, the divine perfection, right? Like it comes back into 6. When you turn the 6 upside down, it's a 9. 9 is the number of completion, but 6 is a perfect number in the way that it multiplies. There's a lot to 6. 6 is also associated with carbon, which is the building block of life, right? Carbon, which is our blackness, our essence, coming back to that sexual energy, which I'm going to speak on a little bit more. Because I want to be clear about why I'm expressing that our sexual energy is our power. There's going to be a lot of things that happen this year that really reveal what is happening energetically. It's also about the revelation of a lot of the illusion that has been conjured, a lot of the spell work that has been conjured through Hollywood, through a lot of the programming that has been coming through, and what the energy is that's driving behind that, which has been sexual energy. It's no coincidence that Hollywood is birthing all of these creative works that the masses get to experience, a lot of which we enjoy. Right? So as much as we want to villainize Hollywood, we have to recognize that's a creative force. And we're in a degenerate cycle, meaning the energy is more malevolent. The energy is more dense. The energy is heavier. It's darker. There's more evil incarnate on the planet. So the expression of sexual energy is going to come through deviancy. And you're going to recognize, in order for us to get all those brilliant expressions and things that we get to distract ourselves with, and we get to bring joy and connect us with our families, and all the ways that we engage in this theatrical expression of art through this mass industry, has been fueled by sexual energy and sexual degeneracy. And that's coming to light so that it can be acknowledged, it can be processed and healed. Now, it's also going to be stimulating a lot of sexual energy. It's not just Hollywood. We're talking about social media. We're just talking about the collective reality, because Hollywood, or the people that we consider to be stars, are exalted energies because they express something from the collective that we're all experiencing, that we all have inside of us. So it's going to be this is like a really deep energy. I'm just saying. So that was just to say that. But Ta is the energy of the family of the earth. So this is a very grounded energy. Like I said, it's the number 6. And the card itself is Akeru. This is almost like a twinned mirroring. This card to me really represents integrity, because it's like, I say what I do, right? It's a mirroring. So this card is also about remembering the past in order to know how to act in the present. So emotionally, a lot of the things that we've experienced, it's going to be opportunities this year to really be present with that, because it's going to inform how we move forward. If you experienced heartache in the past, if you experienced pain from being betrayed in the past, whatever the things may be, the dynamics, it could also be positive emotions as well. But for the most part, like I said, we're in a degenerate cycle. We're all healing. The planet is healing. The planet is becoming, it is transforming, it is regenerating itself. And in that process, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of density. So I just use those examples to say that informs you so that you change, transform, shift your behavior. But you have to be present with it. This also could be unconscious memories that are surfacing. You may not do this consciously, but the energy is still going to present itself, right? So those things may come up to the surface for processing. This card is all about the continuity of time, right? Which is eternity. The past, the present, the future is all now, now. And that's what this card represents. So this year, we're going to be moving towards this emotional maturity and expression of integrity emotionally, as what is happening in the emotional undercurrent or the unconscious realm is going to surface and be clear indeed, right? Um, yeah, and however you choose to engage and express that energy is on you, right? These are just energies. We embody them in whatever ways. There's a whole spectrum, right? We can be in ma'at, we could be centered, we can be balanced. We could also be in extreme, overemphasized or underemphasized. So I'm just offering the energy. You are embodying the energy. Okay. Now we're moving into the earth energy. So I'm going to just speak about how this energy is going to end up manifesting itself in the physical realm. All right. So the first card on this level, again, the number 7. Just saying, it's going to be a lucky year. Tepe Aun is the house of the primordial energies, the energies that existed before existence. Okay, this card is Kh. So this energy is, you can see there's like a beam of light coming in from the top. It has an amphibian mask. The priest in this image has the amphibian mask. He's holding the wasp scepter, which is the scepter of having dominion over our lower self or our lower nature. This is about primal clarity. There's something just coming through. It's very primal. The primordial energy is like the essence of our existence before we even exist. But this energy is about secrecy. Ooh. Yeah, this energy is about secrecy. It's also about rest after activity. So there's a lot of exhausted energy right now. We're tired energetically. Like I could talk about this astrologically, but right now I'm just focusing on the cards. But this is about a rest after activity. We've been moving through a lot. This is the first card in the earth energy. So it's the energy that's still influencing us from the cycle we just completed. So allow yourself to rest, because there's transmissions that are coming in and we need to be receptive to them. Right? Because this transmission of energy is mediated. So there's something here about like the mediation of energy, right? Think about something in the middle. Kar, it mediates the energy or the transmission of what's coming through. Like our bodies mediate what is happening spiritually and brings it here, because we can then express it through our words. We can express it through our art, right? This is about the realization of plans. So things coming to actual form that we have planned for, or that maybe the last cycle was about. And this is about the secret attraction of elements. What do I mean by that? It's the great mystery. When we go into the unconscious or the goddess element, right? Because most people have been oriented to the principle of divinity through God, a masculine or active energy, and it's conscious. God is how creation consciously expresses itself. Goddess is unconscious. Goddess is what is subterranean, subconscious, right? It's the mystery. It's what we can't understand. We don't even know, right? Like we can't even begin to try to express what it is. So this is about that's how things come together. There's a mystery to that, right? And it's primal, and there's something being transmitted to us, and it's coming into the physical world through us. So rest, pause, and give way for what is coming, which is the next 2 cards were in reverse, so they're emphasized. I'm going to show them upright as I interpret them for you. The number 6 again here, Akut, the family of fire. We have Heteru symbolized by the cow, or symbolized by the high priestess here with the crown, or the goddess with the crown of the horns and the solar disc. She also has the cobra on her crown, representing the divine feminine intuition, right? Or the kundalini in the Sanskrit. So Heteru is our magnetism and our attraction, which is interesting because the last card, it was about the secret attraction of elements. Now, Heteru is about attracting abundance. Heteru is about the overflow, right? Why the cow? How does it lactate and overflow, right? We know the cow for its milk, right? We know the cow for its meat, its spaciousness. But the cow just receives, it just eats. And it produces abundance. All right. So the card itself can also represent what unites opposite principles, right? In love, because this is it's attraction, it's magnetism, right? It's magnetism. So what do we always think about? Love. What else would we think about? Beauty. That's why people say Heteru, or Venus, is Hathor in the Greek interpretation, but that's what Heteru is. But it's the principle of. We're not talking about a deity. We're talking about the principle, the scientific principle of magnetism. What attracts opposites. How we experience that in the physical world can be through relationship, connection, but it could just be attracting what is complementary, right? Which is the opposite. It represents the influence that the stars have on the earth as well, right? That was in reverse. So there's a huge emphasis on this energy this year. All right. So that emphasis could be, maybe there's some obstruction there with that energetically. Maybe it's like really emphasized and overflowing. Depends on how you interpret it, how it resonates with you, what you choose. This card was also in reverse. So there's an emphasis on this card. This is our first number, 8. 8 is the number of infinity. No ending, it loops. It's in the house of Ah, which is a lunar energy as well. The card is Kemetic, right? The serpent is swallowing its own tail through this paradox, right? Looks mirrored. Whatever comes up for you intuitively, take note of. I see this card as being the eternal flow, right? It's interesting because Kemetic was known as the bull of his mother. I'm seeing this as really probably an emphasis on incest, to be honest with you. Because when I say the bull of his mother, I'm removing the card here because I'm like really bringing this in through what I'm feeling in the moment. I kept bringing up sexual energy, sexual deviancy, all those themes that I'm saying, like sexual energy is your power. So no matter what it is that you experienced, or whatever starts coming up in the collective, or whatever gets stirred up manipulatively, right? Because there's aspects of our sexual energy that gets repressed and then influenced subtly, that we don't even realize how perversion is entering into us. So it's very important right now, throughout this year, be conscious of your sexual energy, retrace and retract. Like, this is a great time to tap into our work with sexual alchemy. So when Leonie and I start putting that out there, I think definitely tune into that. We're also going to have an opportunity for like kind of like a day experience for those who aren't able to like actually travel to the sexual alchemy retreat that we do, which will be in February. What do I mean? The bull of his mother. The symbolism was the one who impregnates his mother, right? Symbolically. But in this degenerate cycle, that's actually a reality, in the sense that it speaks to energetic perversion, but symbolically, Kemetic does not mean that in a perverted way. It's neutral. It's just an expression of energy. What is it expressing? It's a paradox. How could the mother be the one that's impregnated? Right? It's symbolic. Try to hold that. If you're not in a place where your spiritual journey where you can fully grasp that, it's okay. Think about immortality. There's no ending, right? That's what Kemetic represents. It was seen the Greek, I believe the Greeks interpreted this through the Ouroboros, I believe is called, right? The snake swallowing its own tail. So it can represent that something that we thought was gone comes back. It could also literally represent something completing itself, something fulfilled its time and it's complete. So it depends on how you interpret and how you embody the energy, or how the energy expresses itself in your life. But ultimately, it's about the continuity of life and the renewal of energy. Everything else that I expressed is for who it's for. Energetically and spiritually, in the context of warfare that we're moving through, it's important to recognize that everything is everything and there is a purpose for everything. So as things start coming out and coming forward, it's for healing. It's for healing. All right. And then the final card of the reading is the card here, Serket. 6 again. Do we have 3 6s here? Yes, that's interesting. Carbon, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. Just saying. Alchemy, chem is carbon, the blackness. All right, the cosmos is black. The womb we all gestated in before we were born into this physical realm is black. Kum, carbon. All right, because black is an English word, right? So when we go to kum, that vibration is what we're speaking on. Now, Serket is in the house of Nef. That's the family of the wind. The wind brings change. Oh, yeah. Okay. There's a lot of different aspects here, but you can see she's standing on the scorpion, right? This is Scorpio energy, Serket. This is the energy of self-preservation. So consider this energy of the year. This is the final card of the reading. This is the outcome. This is what we're moving towards to complete this year that we're in, that we just started the year. All right, it's April, start of the spring. I pulled this reading at the equinox on March 21st at the ocean. And the energy that came through or came true is Serket, she who liberates the breath. Now, remember what I said, there's the danger of the misuse of sexual energy here, because there's going to be so much sexual stimulation in the collective field this year. Some of it's going to be subtle, others is going to be revelatory. As things come forward, as things are on the mainstream, they're going to trigger, they're going to stimulate, they're going to arouse, and you're going to have to be with that and process that energy. How can you use that power in a pure way, with integrity, creatively, right? Because the sexual energies are creative power. Don't just waste it. Conserve it, use it, create with it. Remember all the other energies I just expressed that are moving through these creative forces, abundance, linking ourselves to a larger vision, a larger plan, right? Now, this energy also represents the protection of magic, of marriage and magic. It's magical protection, right? So we're talking about something that you can't quite grasp. So it's the conscious direction or the conscious choice of the use of our sexual energy, right? Serket, symbolized by the scorpion. Scorpion symbolism, very, very, very important. Watch a documentary about scorpions. Learn about scorpions. They have so many important and beautiful just qualities. All right. Like look at what a scorpion looks like under a blue light or ultraviolet light. Learn about what the scorpion secretes, I guess would be the word, from its skeleton, I guess. I think it's an exoskeleton that the scorpion has. Um, learn about how the scorpion lays its embryo, right? Carries its embryo on its back. Learn about why the scorpion represents. Now, Serket is typically associated with fire. Sometimes we just think scorpion, we think fire, but it's a water energy. It's about deep emotion, deep transformation, right? The depth that Serket brings us to. We have Bennu, which is the energy of Pluto, in Scorpio right now, right? Serket. That's why this is a big theme, but what is Bennu or Pluto? It's the energy of death and rebirth, transformation. That's essentially what the reading read energetically, right? That you could connect it to the astrology, which is even what I was saying before when I mentioned Heteru or when I mentioned Sertet. It's about the influence as above, so below. Okay? So as you process these energies, recognize that they are indwelling within us. They're surrounding all of us. Other people are going to be experiencing these energies. So be present, right? With your power, no matter where you are in your journey. I don't care if you are menopausal, if you removed your uterus, if you got your a vasectomy, whatever it is, you still have sexual energy. Okay? You have that creative force here in this region, this aritu, this energy center, right? That we call the sacral. And it is a very primal energy. So we're being called in to harness our power. And all the things outside of us that are part of that process are a reflection of what's inside of us. So focus your energy within. That is the key. That's always the key. The one direction that takes you in all directions is right here inside. All right. So I trust that the oracle has been delivered. I hope that you receive this reading with love, and whatever it is that it needed to communicate to you was communicated. If you want a personal reading specifically for you, and whatever specific way you want to be guided within yourself through this beautiful process, you can go to queensandcards.com, link in the description. You can book a reading, an oracle reading with Neff. You could do a pyramid reading. I also do my divinity reading as well, which is with a different deck. Or you could do a simple Trinity reading, 3-card spread. All right. I want to thank you. I also, let me just acknowledge this comment, Mercurial Lord, the Ouroboros is an ancient symbol of a snake or serpent eating its own tail, representing the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Ashe. So that's exactly what that was. So I hope to see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. If you are not subscribed to our channel, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when we post, right? Because we're not necessarily on a specific set schedule, so you don't want to miss anything on the channel. Hit the notification bell, subscribe if you appreciate what we're offering, like, and if you want to support Tehuti Ma'at, feel free to tap in, look at the link in the bio, and we'll see you next time. All right. Power.